Well, it's noon here in Ventnor, New Jersey, and it's time for news that you can use from CarEdge with your hosts, Ray and Zach. Hey, how are you this morning there, handsome?
Happy Monday, Pops. I am doing fantastic. How are you doing?
Yes. Well, I haven't been outside, but things look lovely here in Ventnor, New Jersey. I would, even though it looks lovely, I would highly recommend everyone stay away. We don't need the crowds once summer arrives.
All right, folks, thank you for joining us. We are going to kick today's show off with news from Capital One. So here's the deal. Over the weekend,
Yes.
a tweet from car dealership guy who we'd love to get on the show here with us. And also he's got a podcast now and he's looking for guests. So if you're on Twitter, tag us at Shevska, at Raz's Jazz, at My Car Edge. We'd be happy to go on his show. Here's a tweet that went viral, Pops.
Yes.
This is big. Capital One is pulling inventory lines of credit, aka floor plans, on dealers. Basically means its dealers have 90 days to refi their inventory. From source quote, Cap One is completely getting out of the inventory lending game. Now, if I may, Dad,
Yes.
I would love to get your take on that initially. And then I've got an example of explaining like I'm 5 what floor plan is. So go ahead. What's your reaction? And then I'll do an explanation of the floor plan.
Cap One is obviously a pretty big bank, spend a lot of money in advertising. My guess is that they make a lot of money on floor plan, but maybe they are not one of the larger floor plan banks. But it is notable that a bank of its size would consider getting out of the floor planning business altogether. I know Bank of America is heavily invested in floor planning, Chase is. So it's surprising when one of the big banks in this country says, we're pretty much done. We don't want to be involved in floor planning new and used car inventories for new and used car dealers anymore. That is an alarm, and an alarm that can have a significant impact on a number of businesses and dealerships out there, especially if they can't find somebody to take their floor plan in the future.
And let's be very clear. This is a rumor.
Yes.
I haven't talked to anyone at Capital One, so I cannot corroborate if they're doing this or not. However, I have talked to quite a few dealers over the past week, Dad, and floor plan utilization is up. So dealers tapping into their floor plan lines of credit has gone up. We know that inventories, especially for new cars, are starting to build up. So, it would make sense if this is happening. There's also, Dad, I just want to do a brief explanation of what floor plan is. Someone asked me when I retweeted this over the weekend, they said, hey, can you explain this like I'm 5? I want to get your reaction to this, Dad, because I put this out on Twitter at Shevska. Sure. Imagine you're a kid with a lemonade stand. You need lemons and cups to make and sell lemonade, but you don't have enough money to buy them. So you ask your friend at the bank to lend you some money to buy the lemons and cups. The friend agrees, but they want you to promise to give them some money back every time you sell lemonade. This way you can get the things you need to run the lemonade stand, and your friend gets their money back little by little. Now, let's say your friend starts worrying that people won't buy enough lemonade and they won't get their money back. So they decide to stop lending money for lemons and cups. Car dealers are like the lemonade stand, and the cars they sell are like the lemons and cups. Banks are the friend who lends the money. When banks stop offering floor plans to dealers, it means they're not lending money because they're worried they might not get it back. Thoughts?
Nicely done. I like that. Did you use Chat GPT to help you with that, or was that just from the fertile mind of Zach Shevska? Wow.
Every once in a while, folks, every once in a while. And so what's interesting here, Dad, is that we know that wholesale values of used cars have actually gone up. However, retail prices, they haven't really changed. New car prices, or new car average transaction prices, just in March started to tick down a little bit. And what's interesting here is if Capital One and potentially other lenders, as we've had an interesting little banking crisis over the past 6 weeks, if they're not making as much money on these loans, what they can do in these contracts, and I haven't read every single contract, so don't take this at my word, but my understanding is that these lenders can essentially call the inventory and say, hey, we're pulling the loan. You got to go sell those vehicles. And I was talking to a dealer, Dad, a used car dealer in the Midwest, and he was telling me that back at the beginning of the pandemic, So March of 2020, he was working with one floor plan. He had his line of credit through one floor plan company. They came in and they said, you have to go sell your cars today, or we're essentially going to go repo them from you and put them at the auctions for you, because they had no clue what was going to happen to used car prices. So you got your lemonade stand, but you have no control over the lemons in the cups. These banks are really the ones that dictate what's going on for the dealers.
Well, they dictate what's going on for the dealers that don't have the cash to pay for their own inventory, and
Yeah.
that would be most dealerships. There's very few dealers out there that own their entire inventory, both new and used, outright, where they don't owe any money on it. It's always been much easier to utilize someone else's money. This theory goes back, since the dawn of humanity. It's always better to use other people's money than your own money. So if it becomes harder to get other people's money, then what do? And if you're like a lot of younger businesses where you wouldn't have the cash flow to just be able to pay for things outright, you have to figure out to find another lending source that's going to floor plan your cars for you. And that might be, in a lot of cases for franchise dealers, it's the manufacturer's captive lender that handles a lot of the floor planning. And I know B of A is big in floor planning. But for some of these smaller independent dealers, they might have great difficulty in finding another source, at least at a reasonable interest rate, to floor plan and underwrite their inventories.
So the consumer angle here, the thing for all of us to be watching, I think, would be days on market. So our vehicles still sitting longer and longer, because we know as the Fed increases the Fed funds rate, that means that the dealer is facing more pressure and paying more interest payments on their sitting inventory. And I guess the other thing would be if we see some sort of crisis come out of one of these financial institutions saying like, hey, if we see a formal release from Capital One saying like, hey, we're getting out of this line of business, I think that's a bit of an indicator for us to say, okay, dealers are holding on to inventory and not able to make payments on it, which should lead to theoretically lower prices. I guess it could go either way. So I guess the things to look out for would be, is inventory sitting longer, and do we get some sort of formal acknowledgement from Capital One or other lenders that they're pulling out of this line of business?
Well, and I would think that if you're a dealer that has their floor plan through Cap One, and Cap One tells you that they're going to get out of floor planning, and so that you have 90 days to arrange for another source for that, and to be able to pay off your existing floor plan with Cap One. If those dealers can't find another source, then you very well could expect to see dealers desperately trying to sell their inventory in order to raise enough cash to pay off those cars. So you would think logically that if that were the case, then there should be some bargains to be had. But it could get very dicey for a lot of dealers.
And you've got to imagine essentially the calculus, those dealers who currently floor plan with Cap One, if they did have to find another financial institution, obviously what they're negotiating on in the terms of that contract, the big things that they're going to be focused on are obviously what's the APR that they're paying. Okay.
Oh, yes.
And, or whatever term they pay their interest on. And just imagine you go from having a steady lending partner to, oh crap, now I'm getting hit with something that could cost me X%. I mean, that's a big material business decision for these dealerships to have to make, and could influence the liquidation of some inventory. Let's go to the chat here, Pops. We've got from Joshua: when life gives you lemons, sell them with additional dealer markup and insane interest rates. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does to many dealers out there, yes.
And actually, Joshua, thank you for bringing that up. I dropped the link in the chat. It was on Friday of last week. We relaunched the CarEdge deal data and dealer reviews. This is the crowdsourced effort to capture deal data and dealer reviews to help the community. Dad, 129 submissions since Friday. We need to put a 0 at the end of that number. You can tell us how satisfied you were with the dealer, what you purchased, what you paid, if you had a trade-in, who the salesperson was, did they make you pay above or below, or did they make you pay above MSRP? Did they require you to purchase add-ons and things like that? So please, if you've bought a car in the last year or so, please go fill out this form. Please go help the community. That way, when life does give you lemons, you do not have to go to a dealer that is charging additional dealer markup. Go for it.
That's pretty good, because I remember we were nowhere near that number when we relaunched it. So thanks everybody for participating and sharing, and it'll just make it easier and better for everybody else out there.
Yep, absolutely. We've got from Igor, Dad, in the chat saying Chase
Yeah.
is thinking and talking about getting out of floor planning. I mean, Chase is the largest financial institution in the world. I don't know how big their floor plan business is, so it'd be very interesting if they got out of the floor plan business.
Are they the largest in the world? Are they? Are they really?
Largest bank in the world? No, they are not. The Industrial and Commercial Bank of China is, maybe.
There you have
largest
it.
bank in the largest bank in the United States. Aren't they the largest in the United States?
Yeah,
they're the largest in the United States. Excuse me.
Okay.
They're the largest.
Okay.
In the United
Well,
States, yeah.
The United States is like the world.
To some of us. Hey, let's hit on this quickly, Dad, from Jennifer Smith. I was pre-approved by Capital One, but it was easy to find a better interest rate. You used to hate working with Capital One, and this is a perfect plug. CarEdge.com/finance. Get hooked up with a credit union. Best way to get pre-qualified before you go to the dealer. You used to hate working with Capital One, didn't you?
Yeah, they would tie so many stipulations onto the drafts that they would give to their customers that oftentimes you'd end up waiting 2 or 3 weeks to get funded for a vehicle that you put on the road. So one of the dealer groups that I worked on, the corporate policy that came down from the owner himself was, we will not be accepting Capital One drafts. It's just that simple. You need to write the loan with another lender that we know we can get paid within 72 hours. So Capital One wasn't one of the ones that you'd get paid within 72 hours. There were just so many hoops to jump through. It was like you were a circus animal. And I believe some of the hoops actually had fire around them. Yeah, Capital One was a pain in the yes.
Yeah, pain in the tuchus is like
yes,
what we
there
like
too.
to say.
Yes.
Let's keep going through the chat pops. Then we're going to do an early, really, you've got to be kidding me, stand by for that. Kaylin says, do you think that the floor plan issue could create an incentive for dealers to start offering better lease deals? I don't think the floor plan issue is going to do that. I think the lack of affordable monthly payments for folks is going to force the captive lenders to do that. What do you think?
Yeah, the dealers don't set the lease terms. The lenders set the lease terms. Typically, the best lease deals come through captive lenders, although there are still some outside leasing companies that will offer a better deal than the captive lenders. But Capital One is not one of them. So I wouldn't suspect, if we do see better lease deals coming, it's because inventory is building up and manufacturers are again realizing that one of the easiest ways to create lower payments is by supporting leasing as opposed to long-term financing, because through short-term leasing, you're bringing your customers back much more quickly than you could if you put them in 72 or 84-month financing. So I think that's where better lease deals and lease terms are going to come from as inventory builds a little bit.
Yeah, spot on. And also, we've actually seen an uptick in credit unions writing leases. So it does happen. You can get outside leases,
Yes.
but it's typically the best rate's going to be through that captive finance company. All right, Dad, we just got a couple comments here on dealer reviews and the deal data. Make sure to scrutinize for scammers giving bad reviews maliciously. 100%. We're reviewing every single piece of data that comes through. And Mark, with a great suggestion that, Mark, I'm going to work on today, actually.
Yeah.
What if you didn't purchase but left the dealership without a vehicle? That's feedback I would also want to see. I'm going to add a first question, or onto the first question. Did you buy new or used? And I'm going to also put a third option, which is I didn't purchase, but I have data, or something like that, so that people can contribute in that way.
I didn't purchase, but I'd like to review the dealership, because you know, many people shop several dealerships. Well, ultimately only buy from one. So why is it that they didn't buy from the others? Was it price? Was it the way they were treated? Was it additional dealer markups? Was it forced dealer add-ons? So yeah, I think it would be important to gather that information. The reviews should be just on your experience at dealerships, and not necessarily on your completed transaction.
Yeah, definitely, especially if there are additional dealer markups, things like that, forced add-ons, things along those lines, where absolutely we want to capture that. Speaking of which, Dad, this is going to lead us into our really, you've got to be kidding me. Do you mind giving me a sound bite?
Really? You gotta be kidding me today, because I believe I know where you're going.
That was a lot of hugging going on, but I liked it. Here's the deal, folks. We have a very scientific piece of research that has come across the wire. And this, I'm using technical jargon here, because this came across the wire and I was flabbergasted. Now, don't forget, we've got TrueCar doing huge amounts of advertising on automotive news. So the moment you think TrueCar is in your corner to help you actually buy a car, remember that they serve the dealers, because we are on automotive news, and I can't get rid of that freaking ad. Look how big that ad is.
It is.
But Dad, they really got to be kidding me.
That is a BAA, a big ass ad. Yes, a BAA.
The really, you got to be kidding me, comes right here. Selling over sticker price can backfire on car dealer automakers. Survey: 34% of customers paid more than sticker price for a new vehicle in December 2022. GfK research indicates might cost repeat business. One other thing I want to call out here, Pops, before you go in on this. Millennials charged more. 43% of millennials were charged more than sticker on their latest purchase, the largest proportion among any age group studied. So not only do folks not like paying over MSRP, we also have younger people getting taken advantage of more. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, can I start with the millennials? It's because they don't have the experience at buying cars. And so, you know, maybe, just maybe, we need to concentrate more efforts towards younger people out there to help get them up to speed, so that they won't be taken advantage of so much. But the thing that this reminds me of is like government funded studies on things that people already know the answer to before they begin the study. It's like, you know, you don't have to do a study to know that if you're overcharging people, that ultimately one day they wake up, okay, as they say in the business, they come out of the ether and they go, well, what did I really get for that extra $10,000? Why would I ever want to do business with that dealership again, or with that brand? So it doesn't take a survey. It doesn't take going out and gathering. I mean, it takes common sense. Now, the problem, as I like to say with common sense, is it's just not all that common. So somebody spent some money to conduct this research to prove what they already knew the answer was before they did the research. They just wanted to give you the actual statistic that it was 34% and not say 40 or 30%. But it's like, of course, if you're going to overcharge people, you're not building a relationship with those people where they're going to want to come back and do business with you again. You're just not.
Yeah, I mean, it's really some no-brainer stuff.
Yeah, but you know, it's the type of thing that you could probably go to a governmental agency and say, we need to do some. Could we get $150,000 grant to study this?
Well, this was a private company. Let's be very clear, because you're
Yes,
mentioning the
yes.
government. This is not.
This
This is
this
not
was
nothing to do with our federal government or
yes,
state government. This
no,
is a private company, GFK. Honestly, it makes me want to do some research just to kind of mock it a little bit further. But to be very clear, this is actually another reason why our deal data and dealer review stuff is so important, because you know
yes.
what? No government agency is going to police this stuff, or they try to, but it's hit or miss. We got to self-police. We got to, be the community that comes together. But I laughed when I saw that, and not like, I feel terribly for the people who paid over MSRP, because we had Justice in the chat letting us know, Dad, that's insane. Cars were
Yeah.
extremely negotiable in December. And you're right, they were.
Yes.
You really shouldn't, unless you're buying a RAV4 Prime, you really shouldn't have been getting screwed on a car deal. This is why we've built CarEdge. It just speaks to how many people need to be more informed, break down the information asymmetry. There's such an opportunity here because those people just got screwed.
Well, nearly 50% of the millennials, paid more than MSRP. And now my guess is, and I didn't see the stat in there, but my guess is that boomers probably, like myself, probably paid the least amount over MSRP, because their experience would lead them to negotiate differently, to walk out, where millennials, if you tell them, well, hey, this is just the way it is, and they don't know any better, then they're going to go, okay, I guess that's the way it is. And they'll just pay too much. And so really it's all about education. And, this type of education needs to start in high schools, so that when these younger people graduate high school and perhaps move on to college or just move into the workforce, that they have a better understanding as to how all of this works, so they don't find themselves at a disadvantage. Which, having said that, means that we at CarEdge need to do a much, much better job of getting this information out to the younger generation. More TikTok videos, Zach.
Can I show you something? Can I show you something?
Yeah.
So I'm on TikTok. Hopefully that isn't some sort of hot take that gets people upset. Here's my message requests, Dad. Look how many I have.
Is that like a lot? Yeah, it just keeps going.
I don't know. You tell me. You tell me. These are every day. Dozens of people reach out to me asking for car buying advice for their specific car. I mean, look at this. It just keeps
It's crazy.
going.
Yeah.
I obviously do not have enough. I mean, I could just keep going. I don't have enough time. This is insane. I don't have enough time in the day to get back to all. This is why we've built CarEdge. But I am spending more and more time on TikTok trying my best to explain to people how to negotiate cars and what information to look at. Because you look at the data from GFK, that was the one highlight of this for me, was the realization that actually that generation, that medium of communication needs more and more attention. And it's just, I don't know who's doing it. I don't see other, it's pretty nerdy, geeky stuff, but if it saves you thousands of dollars, like, it's worth it. It's 100% worth it.
No, absolutely. And it's just, it's knowledge. And it's the knowledge that a lot of people don't have. And obviously it's the knowledge that a lot of millennials don't have. And it's no fault of their own. It's not like why, it's not an instinctual thing. This is, it's a learned thing, how to negotiate for cars, how to make sure you're not being taken advantage of. So for millennials, they don't know what they don't know. And so they a lot of them end up getting taken advantage of, and it becomes our job and others to try and teach better ways of accomplishing the same goal.
All right, let's do this, Dad. Let's give a shout out on a Monday to one of our colleagues, one of our team members. Here we go, folks. We've got from Alex Jean in the CarEdge community. Now, look at this. We're going to give a huge shout out to Kimberly Klein on our team. Should I cancel my extended warranty and maintenance bought from the finance manager? I'm a first-time car buyer. So just like what we're talking about, Dad, someone who hasn't done this before. I'm a first-time car buyer, and I bought a 2023 Mazda CX-5 Carbon Edition For some reason, I agreed to add an extended warranty and maintenance protection plan. The extended warranty, which is good for 6 years, cost me $2,700, and the maintenance is 4 years, and it cost me $1,570. I read that I have the option to cancel within the first 30 days without fees. Here's what it looked like, yada, yada, yada. And look at just, this is what we do, folks. I am so proud of the team we have and the community we have from Kimberly here. Get a quote from us to compare pricing. We're going to do that in a second here. The typical markup is between $1,000 to $3,000 in the F&I office. We're going to look at that in a second here compared to our pricing. Ask the questions regarding maintenance plan. You'll find them in this video at the 753 mark. Fantastic. And lastly, if you decide to cancel your service contract, aka extended warranty, click here where we have a video and templates for you about explaining how to cancel it. And here are the FAQ cheat sheet for extended warranties, vehicle service contracts as well. This is incredible, Dad. Because like, let me click on this one. Let's look at this tab really quickly. How to cancel your extended car warranty, a step-by-step guide. Here's a video. Here's a table of contents about how to do it. Like, huge kudos to Kimberly on the team. And let's look at it really quickly, Dad, if it's okay with you. If I'm not mistaken, the vehicle that Alex purchased was a 2023 Mazda CX-5. Okay.
Yes.
You have any guess what you think the price is going to be?
$1,349.
And what term?
For the best coverage.
Let's just do Arizona because we don't know what state Alex is in. Okay, so for 10 years and 120 miles, 100,000 miles in 10 years is $1,960, but she got a 6-year term.
Yeah.
And let's go down to 100,000, $1,593. So we're talking about $1,000 less.
Yes. Nicely done. So, yeah, people don't know what they don't know. And I say the same thing over and over again. I sound like a damn broken record. But yes, we just have to keep educating and informing, and so everybody can be better equipped.
Because, Dad, think about it for a second. If we've got this GFK research talking about, people are upset that they paid over MSRP, and millennials, especially in Gen Z, they're paying more. They realize when they're buying something over MSRP, like they know it. Here's the MSRP. Yes. The dealer's saying, hey, here's. How many people do you think buy these warranties, these maintenance products, just like Alex, and have no clue that they overpaid or that they didn't have? That number would be staggering. That number would be insane.
No, it goes back to they don't know what they don't. People don't know what they don't know, and our job is to teach them what it is that they need to know. It's just that simple.
We got a question here. What pay plan does that cover? No one is paid on commission or by selling. We have literally not a single person on the team that gets compensated when we get when we get paid. Like this is not a sales driven organization, not in the slightest. Okay. We're just here to help. And if people end up buying our products, obviously it helps us make payroll, but yeah, we're the anti-dealership here, folks. We're just trying to provide information.
There's something to be said for that. All good stuff, by the way.
I think so. Thank you, Pops. All right, why don't we call it a show?
Okay.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, I believe at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, 8 a.m. Alaska time. Have no idea what time that might be in Hawaii. Maybe 6 a.m., I'm guessing. I don't know. But be here. Be there again tomorrow. Whatever. We'll see you tomorrow at noon Eastern. Thanks everybody for being here today.
Pops John Lineman with us with his Audi Allroad.
Oh my God, how's John doing? Yeah,
I hope John's doing well. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. Thank you, Dad.
Thank you. See you, everybody.